you think?
Well, that is a heavy subject. What do I think? I just happen to be looking at the news, and I see that at about 2:40 in the morning this morning, a man drove a car into a security gate at the FBI's Pittsburgh field office. After crashing, the suspect removed an American flag from the back seat of the car and threw it over the gate before fleeing on foot. The FBI is calling the incident a targeted attack, an act of terror. Thankfully, no injuries are reported. The suspect is identified as Donald Henson of Penn Hills, Pennsylvania. He has a history of military service and mental health issues. Authorities say they had previously interacted with him. He visited the FBI field office weeks ago to file what they described as a, quote, confusing complaint. The vehicle had derogatory or vulgar writing on one of its windows, though it wasn't targeted to a specific group. A bomb squad was dispatched to check for possible explosives, though none have been confirmed. One side of inquiry is whether the incident was influenced by ideology or extremist views. The FBI is investigating, and so that's the deal. There were no injuries. Mental health appears to be a factor, and that is what is going on. I tell you what, the world has just gone crazy. And then when you think about Mangione, the guy that shot the executive from United Healthcare and killed him and is on trial, when they dropped the terror charge that they didn't feel they had a good way to do, people standing outside who have supported Mangione in his case of shooting this man in cold blood right there in New York City, on the streets of New York City, cheered when they dropped those charges. And we also should say that over $1 million has been raised by supporters of this Mangione. What has happened to our logic sensors here that we're supposed to have? We support somebody that kills somebody else. We believe that it's justified. I mean, what has happened? I'm not going to get into any of this stuff this morning. I got a lot of stuff to talk about. But every time we turn around, people are on what I consider the wrong side of the issue. Wrong side of the issue. A man shoots somebody in cold blood on the streets of New York City, and people gather around, support him, give him money, $1 million for his case and everything, and then cheer when a charge is dropped to show their support of him. This man's not getting out of this, folks. He shot him in cold blood. Why is it that we can't seem to understand what is right and what is wrong? What has happened to our sense of right and wrong? Here's that word. It used to be we all knew what was right and what was wrong. Now it seems like the lines are so blurred, it is absolutely, to me, frightening. But anyways, I digress. Yesterday, they did charge, I'm sure you've heard about it, the young man who shot Charlie Kirk. He sat there motionless in another room. He was not actually in the courthouse with a suicide vest on and appeared, as I said, motionless, like he had no concern. Did he understand what was being said? I guess. But you would have almost thought he had been he had been was on some type of drugs or something. I don't know, but it certainly was a freaky, if you watch this, to see him sit there motionless, and as they talked about the charges that are pending against him. Of course, he claims to have no money, so of course he will get a public defender, and that is something that we, the people, will pay for. I did hear an interesting comment that I just want to mention. They said they didn't have any, he and his lover, the guy that is transitioning to a girl, transgender, that there was not any real source of income. So one of the questions that was raised yesterday, did they have student loans? Since they had both, I think both had been in school at one point, did they have student loans that were supporting them? I do not know. I just found that's an interesting point of view. So I thought I would mention that. But we are here today to discuss oodles of things going on. We have today is, I want to make sure that we cover this because it's an important thing to cover as our country is in such angst of, what is freedom, what are rights, what is this, what is that. Today is Constitution Day, and from our Constitution we were given God-given rights. And although in today's world it seems pretty much blurred as to what is and what isn't and what people believe. But today we celebrate Constitution Day, marking the signing of the U.S. Constitution back on September 17th, 1787 in Philadelphia. The Constitution created the framework for our government, three branches with checks and balances, and later the Bill of Rights that guarantees freedoms we treasure today like speech, religion, and assembly. By law, schools across the country pause on or near this date to teach students about the Constitution, reminding us that it remains the foundation of our democracy. So whether you're in a classroom, at an event, or just reflecting on what it means to be an American, Constitution Day is a chance to remember the document that still shapes our lives and freedoms every day. It is amazing that a group of men, there were no women there. Would have been better if there'd been some women there. But anyways. It is amazing that a document has been written, that today still is relevant. Who can imagine that they could have the foresight to create a document that could still give you the things that we cherish, although they're being torn down on almost a daily basis. But fortunately, enough of us still believe in the Constitution that we still want to remember and do believe that these things are self-evident. So I hope that you will spend some time with your children or your grandchildren, maybe discussing a little bit what rights, and everybody always talks about the Second Amendment. Oh, we got to have our gun rights, our Second Amendment. I always like to point out that if it wasn't for the First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, you know what? You wouldn't have number 2, 3, 4, or 5. So there is a reason that the First Amendment is the First Amendment. If the founders actually thought that gun ownership was the most important, I think they would have made that number 1. So let's not lose the fact that the ability to converse, the ability to have freedom of speech, the ability to disagree is part of our rights here in the United States of America. That the press has the right to try to find out things and should not be constrained by what one government, one entity is telling us to do. That we have the right to investigate these things. That if it wasn't for freedom of the press, a whole lot of government work would not be known to you because of freedom of information and transparency. Those all come from your press. So salute the press. Even though sometimes they lose their way, salute the press for being there as a beacon of what you guys doing behind closed doors. There you go. That's right. What are you guys doing behind closed doors? So that's just my little bit about it. I'm sure everybody has heard ad nauseum a lot about the Constitution this week, particularly in light of all the things that are happening. I do want to mention one more thing that I have found very disturbing, and don't know how much it is out there, but they are actually saying that there was a lot of discussion on the internet about what was going to happen on September 10th. And I certainly hope that our government, the FBI, the whatever organization that is in charge of this, is going to be able to get to the bottom of it. Why do I say that? Because the very fact that this could have been something, maybe he acted alone, but then again, maybe there were influences that September 10th, because we all know what September 11th is. So is September 10th something that we should be aware that there was a planning of this all along? How far-reaching it was. There are some posts, according to what I was watching last night, that go back to mid-August, with the thought processes, and this was like, watch out for September 10th and things like this. Nothing direct saying Charlie Kirk is going to die. That's not what I'm saying. But there were rumblings that something big was going to happen on September 10th. So I find this very, very demoralizing, and I just wonder, and I know that people are going to say, Ann, you've lost your mind. But what would happen if we turned off the internet? What would happen if we turned off the internet? Would a lot of this stuff happen? Would a lot of this stuff quit? Would we be able to have more? If they had to go back to using smoke signals or telegraph things, this type of thing, would it change? Is there even any possibility that that could happen? I think we need to have a day. I think we need to have a day of no internet at all, where they just turn it off for one day and we just see if we can survive. And everybody would be walking around looking at their phones going, please, tell me what's going on. Tell me what's going on. Why won't you tell me? Yeah, okay. How come I can't have any conversation on Facebook? What if everything just shut down for one day? Ooh, people do that in their own lives, believe it or not. Believe it or not, yeah. By the way, President Trump is in jolly old England, and the and the royal family is riding up in their carriages and everything. It's quite an impressive. This also is very impressive because this is the second time that a president, I think they're saying that this is this the first time that this has happened? That is the only time a president has had a second state visit to England. So that's kind of, regardless of how you feel about the president or anything else, it is kind of exciting to see the synergy, the interaction that we have with other countries. This president is not afraid to get on a plane and go there and check it all out. They are looking to put some deals together, so we'll see how that goes. But let's move on and talk about a couple other things. Number one. Gotta have a sip of my tea. Would you join me in a cup of tea this morning? Hot tea now, not iced tea. How delicious that is. All right. So this evening at Lander, the other day, Monday, we did a pop-up interview. We had Dr. Lucas McMillan on talking about this program that's going to be at Lander. It is a community program. I hope you will make it over there. I will be there. I hope you will be there. And bring your not your babes to this program, but bring young people to this. They were saying elementary school kids were fine to bring to this program, but it is a program that has played out on the likes of the History Channel, PBS, and A&E. They've performed at several impressive venues throughout the United States, including the U.S. National Archives, Independence Historic Park in Philadelphia, and the Smithsonian Institute. Well, who are they? It is Stephen Edenbow portraying Thomas Jefferson, and Peyton Dixon portraying John Adams will debate the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution live at Lander. The actors, as I said, they've been on TV. They have been in a lot of great venues. And this is, of course, to honor Constitution Day. The performance will take place today, Wednesday, September 17th at 6 p.m. in the Abney Cultural Center Auditorium. Please come to this. I am so impressed that Lander was able to bring these two guys on Constitution Day. Dr. McMillan did say they started back in February to get this program here, and you should know that this is brought to you by Lander University's Jackson Lecture Series. After the event, there will be a meet and greet. These actors will be dressed in their garb of the time, of the period, so it's really going to be a fantastic program and one you should not miss. So please, I wanted to put that out there. Please put that on your calendar. All right, so now let's talk about some local news. Number one, County Council met last night. They had a lot of things to talk about. But probably to me, one of the things that is most interesting is how we are going to pave our roads. That is the question. Is it more noble to let these roads fall apart after 35 years, or is the thing to do to pave them? Well, of course, the thing is to pave them. But the problem is, and you can remember a couple of weeks ago, we had quite an extensive conversation about that here on the radio, is that Rob Russian brought up a lot of information, facts and figures 2 weeks ago at the last county council meeting. He wanted council to ruminate on it and see what they thought. It was rather a spirited conversation. And the conversation last night revolved around what? It revolved around the idea, should private roads in developments be included on the county road system? Now, we all know it costs a lot of money to pave 1 mile of road. And the question has been, one of the things that has been brought up in this discussion, and there is no way I can do it justice today. I toyed with the idea of playing this section for you, and I may still do that, but we won't be able to do it today. We won't be able to do it tomorrow because Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evett will be joining us tomorrow. But I want to give you the nuts and bolts of this. Right now, we pay a road fee on every vehicle here in Greenwood County of $26 a vehicle. They say in order to get, with just the current road systems we have now, we would need to add another $20 to the road system, to the road fee that you pay for your vehicle. Now, we all know a road fee is actually a tax, regardless of how they decide to disguise it. So that would mean each car would be charged at $46 a vehicle. $46 a vehicle. That would allow us, ostensibly, with the money that comes from the state and what we generate ourselves and everything, to be able to pave every road that is on the county system every 25 years, which is recommended because after 25 years your roads start degrading, or they do degrade. 25 years is about the max amount of time. So Rob Russian, which I'm not sure what he is the department head of, but he deals with the landfill, he deals with the roads, so he is in that. And he had brought two pieces of paper. One piece of paper saying that they would consider, that the county would consider adding roads from developments into the county system, or two, that they would not allow the county system to take on private roads. Well, there's a lot of discussion back and forth about whether this is a good thing or not a good thing. From Rob Russian's point of view, he wanted to be able to tell developers, you better make sure that you figured out how you're going to cover your roads, because either the county would or would not. Now, developments have their HOAs and all that kind of stuff, and that is where that money is supposed to come to. Now, having lived in an HOA at one point in my life, I know they do assessments, and that's when they say we've got to pave the roads, we've got to this, that, and the other. Having lived at Gatewood at one point, I remember them having big discussions about they had all these trucks coming in, building houses and whatnot. Of course, it was tearing up the roads. And there was discussion about, should we charge the companies that are coming in and doing this because they're tearing up our roads a fee? What should we do? Well, fast forward to here we are today. I'm just doing this because I remember some of the discussions that were happening. They're talking about all these road systems that are being developed by these developers. The first vote, and then Mark Allison had asked for more information so that they could, because from his point of view, what Mark Allison was saying, and this is exactly true, that yes, even though there would be more roads, there would be more people living in these HOAs, and so that those figures with those dollars, and they would all live in houses that had 1, 2, or 3 cars, whatever, so wouldn't those fees help cover that? So the first vote that they took, and then I will say, Rob Russian, yes, you're listening to WCRS radio. That was our friendly announcer on the radio telling us you're listening to WCRS radio, and it's 10 a.m. So Rob Russian did seem to get a little exasperated, I'm going to say, with having the council wanting more information so that they could make a good decision. Robbie Templeton didn't want to see we already pay $26 per car, per vehicle, and he did not want to, at this point, add another $20 on top of it. I think Robbie Templeton thought maybe it would be a bad look and people would be upset. Well, here's my point. If you're going to do it, might as well just do it, right? And tell people that it's coming in January or whatever. But they decided to save that for budget talks. So that was nixed. But there is no system that can tell you how many roads, how much dollars it's actually going to cost. Will we be paving those roads when they first go in? And then there became the question has any community, any HOA, officially a member of the county system? And a discussion ensued about the fact that, well, since we haven't had this, we don't really have an official, yes, we will take care of your roads. So then Ms. Miller brought up, perhaps maybe we should go back and look at all the system, all the private roads. Now, this does not have to do with anything other than private roads in communities, in a community. That perhaps we should go back and look at those, and even those that had been, what shall we use the term, grandfathered in, would not, that they would look at those and make a decision that yes, they will, or no, they won't. Well, nobody seemed to be satisfied with whatever the answer was. So a vote was had that the piece of paper that Rob Russian had that said we will not take on any development roads. That vote failed, which kind of surprised me. But that vote failed. So they went on and they had some more discussion. And what did county council do? I don't remember who made the motion, but this time they voted to let developments come in front of them and they would make a decision whether they were going to take on that road. The big thing that Rob Russian and his office wanted was a definitive answer to be able to tell these developers, you'll have to go in front of council and either, yes, they will consider it. There's no guarantee they will consider it, or B, they won't consider it. You know, it's just a flat, no, we don't take care of your roads. So county council passed a resolution, I guess it's a resolution last night, that county developments can come in front of them and they will look at it and make a decision whether they will include it in the county system or not. Just thought you'd like to know. One of the other questions facing our county, and not just our county, but across all the state, is how much money will the state be giving us? I think last year they reduced some of the amount because they were spending so much on the state roads that I believe I'm right on this. I believe there was a little less. And they're not really sure how much money they will get next year in the budget for our county roads. Roads and bridges are most important. That we know. From a personal point of view, it didn't seem to, I'm a little shocked at the fact that they decided to pass an ordinance or a resolution. I think it's a resolution. I'm not sure. I'm a little surprised that they didn't decide to either A, pass on it, B, to just say, no, we can't take any more on. One of the things that concerned them is that if they didn't, and you know, they can turn down all of them with this, anybody that comes in front of county council to ask that their roads be included, they can turn them all down. But they left the door open to make themselves look better when they're talking to developers about developing developments here in our community. This is one of those bugaboos. This is one of those bugaboos about our community. And I don't really know what, if any, development specifically, but according to what was said last night, that a community can come to council and ask to be included in the county road systems. And at that point, council will have to say yes or no. I guess they just like sitting there saying, you may come forward. Who are you with? What state your name and address? We will hear your case now. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I would like to say. I'm making a joke here, but I really don't understand it. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to listen to it again. It was late last night than when I was listening to it, but I know I am correct about the about the point of views. They did decide to give Rob Russian the right to say, well, you can go in front of council. I believe Rob Russian said on his way away from the podium, we'll expect a lot of people showing up here to ask to be included. Because technically, none of these communities are truthfully included according to what the rules are right now. So we have been doing ones for years that have just been, I guess, around for years, and it was okay. I guess we used to be able to do it. Now, of course, like everything else, everybody's looking for an off-ramp to not have to deal with giving more service. End of my discussion on this, unless somebody has a question or a comment. 864-229-7984. Let's just check to see if anybody has a question. I've seen some extraneous questions. I'm not going to answer those because I don't know the answers to those questions. Let's see if there's anything else out there. We do have a question. Why is this coming up now? Well, it's coming up now because they're short on money. And if we do nothing, according to Rob Russian, it would take 35 years to pave all the county roads in Greenwood County. That being said, a road is only good, a tarred road is only good for 20 to 25 years. So as you can see, our roads are not in great shape, but if you adopt that policy, we'll have a lot of roads that are not in good shape. So the question to me is, why are we taking on more than we can take on? And to Mark Allison's point, what type of figuring would it be if you have people moving into houses, buying houses, paying taxes, paying car fees? If you double, literally, well, it's not quite double. Right now we pay $26. They're saying an increase of $20 with the roads that we have right now would take us 20 to 25 years to pave all of them. So this is a big discussion. And like I said, I'm a little surprised that county council said, oh, just tell them to come in front of us. That's basically what this resolution that Rob Russian had. Developers could either come in front of them or they would tell them, no coming in front of us. Sorry, that's it. We don't do roads. County council opted to say, we will talk to each development on an individual basis. And I also will note that Rob Russian got a little PO'd, I think, when Mark Allison said that he thought that they needed more information before they made this decision. Rob Russian threw it back at council and said, well, are you willing to pay for a study to have consultants come in and do this work? Because it takes a lot of my time to do this, and so what would you do? Actually, Mark Allison said yes, that he thought this was a big enough topic, yes. And then in the next breath, they decide to vote yes to we'll talk to each one and let them come in and talk to us. So that's where we're at on that. I think that's a big topic. I think it's a bigger topic than a lot of people maybe thought about. When they started down that road with that piece of paper. Me, I don't think I would have done anything. I think I would have gotten a little more information, but that's just me. All right, but you can look for, let me just tell you this, regardless of the decision on what the left hand is doing over here, whether we include somebody or not, you can look for your fees on your cars are going to go up. It does not matter whether they do it now or they do it during budget talks or they make it the first of the year. They are saying that it is going to go up. So anticipate that each car that you have will go from $26 to $36, $46. FYI, regardless of what they say. And I know they don't call it a tax, but a fee is a tax. But that is where they are at. So this is on road maintenance here in Greenwood County. All right. That was one issue. Let's see. What else did I have? They also passed on giving out the money for accommodations tax. It was decided they needed to do more study on it. Although I didn't have the list, I wasn't privileged to the list, there was a discussion. The committee had met through the county. This is through the county, and what they were getting ready to give out. And it was actually Kathy Miller that was a little perturbed about the numbers and how they were being distributed. So they decided to come back and they would meet again on that. So the accommodations taxes were not awarded. Interesting to note, one of the things they wanted to know, which just seems logical to me, is what had the city done? So before they gave out any money, they wanted to know what the city had done too, which I think is logical. Those two should work hand in hand. You shouldn't just have one over here and none over here and, know but the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing. So that's another topic for another day. But they did not give out any money. They are back in discussion with the committee, and some of the people on county council want some more information about how this is done. Kathy Miller had come up with some type of formula, and I don't know whether they're going to adopt that or not, but she thought that it was important, and so did everybody else on council. So that's my update on council. It was a long meeting. It was 2-hour meeting, but a lot of good information was put out there, but the majority of it was over the roads, and there was also more than what I'm telling you, a discussion on the taxes, the accommodation tax money being given out. So there you go. Well, one other thing that I found most interesting. Evidently in one meeting, maybe one I missed, the treasurer was going to go with giving out quarterly reports on our money. I believe it was, and she reminded council when she approached the podium that this would be her last update until December. And the reason being because quite often not a lot changes on there, how much money they have, what they're spending it on, yada, yada. And it does take quite a bit of work every month to get those reports ready. Okay. But that's her job as the treasurer for Greenwood County. So evidently there had been discussion about changing it to a quarterly update. Well, there was some discussion about that. I believe it was Mark Allison said that he liked to get those monthly reports because it is a 60 million, did I write it down? That sticks in my brain. 60 million. Yes, 60 million. I think it's around a $60 million budget. And he thought it was important to know what's happening with the money. In the end, I believe what they decided to do is to... what did they decide to do? Oh, yes. They decided to let Stephanie decide if she needed to come forth and give them any updates on any changes, drastic changes, things that they should be informed about. One of the things that is a discussion is that our monies are going to change somewhat because of the hurricane. There was a lot of money coming in. We're being repaid for a lot of money that was spent during that. FEMA is giving money back to the county, etc. So they are saying that it may look like a wild ride, but according to Stephanie, it's not. It's just everything equalizing out between the monies that was spent and the monies coming back in. So, but I thought that was an interesting discussion is, do you want to wait a quarter to hear from your treasurer? And do you feel that just letting her decide, well, I think I need to tell you about this, is a good idea? I don't know, but that was another point of discussion. So quite a lively meeting. If you'd like to watch the meeting, you certainly can go back and watch it. It is on YouTube, Greenwood County. You actually can go to the Greenwood County website, and I believe there is a tab where you just click on it and it'll take you right to it, but it is on YouTube also. So interesting stuff. I wanted to bring that to you today because I thought it was really, really important. Now, I did have a lot of other things that I needed to talk to. I've spent too much time talking about county council, but I hope that you found that useful to be able to hear what's going on county council. As we've said, David Stumbo announced last night that he is running for AG. It is quite a crowded field. You need to tune in this afternoon, 5 p.m. I will be interviewing David Stumbo, our solicitor, David Stumbo, who is now running for AG. He has some very definitive thoughts about the role of the AG and about what he would like, what he brings to the table, and the issues that he would like to cover. It should be a fascinating interview. Tune in at 5 o'clock if you can. If not, you can always go back, and it will be live on the radio. It will also be live on Facebook. So, that's one of the things that I think you'll find very interesting. So, let's see. Some interesting comments on the road thing. For the county, I think we'll leave that alone, but it is a lot more to the surface of this I really should discuss, but we don't have time today. But I do want your comments on this so that I can dig into this, and anybody have any information? You know, I'm an information sponge. I love getting all this information. So for those that have commented today, thank you, and we will go back and cover this some more. Actually, in 2 weeks they'll be covering it, and I wonder if they will have any other thoughts about the decision that they made when they see how many communities are standing there ready to be included in the county road systems. All right, but let's move on. Lots of good events coming on. The race benefiting the Greenwood Genetics Center is coming up this Saturday. It'll be the 15th annual Race the Helix, and that's a 5K race, and a 1-mile run walk supports the Greenwood Genetics Center Gates Fund. So make sure that CARES Fund. So make sure that you are in on that. So good stuff, and we'll talk more about that on another day, like maybe tomorrow. We'll talk some more about that. Also, did want you to know that the Little River Missionary Baptist Association is celebrating this Saturday on September 21st at 3 p.m. the celebration of the Little River Missionary Baptist Association's dedicated service to the surrounding communities, and the release of a commemorative book titled The Journey of the Little River Missionary Baptist Association from 1873 to 2025. So that will be at their building over there in Hodges, 415 Riley Road, right there in North Hodges. That will be at 3 p.m. They will be doing that. I had a couple of other things I wanted to tell you something about. State Superintendent of Education Ellen Weaver will visit McCormick County at 11 a.m. Thursday to deliver the 2025 State of Education address at the McCormick Middle School Gymnasium. Tickets for the address are $30, and there'll be quite a crowd there. Real quick, I want to tell you a little bit about District 50's meeting their school board meeting. I can only give you just a few tidbits right now. We'll try to go back and get you some more information. Lakeview Elementary, some of the school digger rankings achievements included. This is pretty big. Lakeview Elementary jumped 140 places from number 318 to 178. Wow, that is huge. Also, Hodges Elementary climbed to 23rd in the state. Guess they must be doing something right over there in Hodges, right? The honeybees over there are just buzzing away and doing lots of good stuff. So 23rd in the state. Congratulations on that. And then Westview is, what does it say? Broke into the top 100 for the first time in school history. How about that? That is huge. So I just want you to know that there are things happening in our school district. I certainly hope with Dr. Shane Goodwin at the helm, he is our new superintendent, that they're able to keep this all going and add more of our school system to this. It certainly takes a lot to bring this all together, but kudos to all of these. Let me give them a shout out this morning. Okay, that's enough. You don't clap for me that way, but okay, I understand. Lakeview Elementary jumped 140 places from 318 to 178. Hodges Elementary climbed to 23rd in the state, and Westview Middle broke into the top 100 for the first time in school history. So that is huge. I just wanted to give them a shout out on that. Congratulations to all the teachers and the schools. I hope they do something special for them. Anyways, I'm Ann Eller. This is WCRS. I'm off to get either a root canal or a crown or both. Who knows what they're going to do to me today. But I will say this. I will be back at 5 o'clock this afternoon. I want to make sure that you're tuned in. It will be David Stumbo's first interview since declaring, his first sit-down interview since declaring to be running for AG for the state of South Carolina. I know this is a decision that David did not take took very seriously, consulted his family, prayed a lot about it, and I know that he is all in on doing this, and as he said, he needs to make sure his hometown and the upstate supports him. The battle will be for him, because he's not in that area, will be the lower state of South Carolina, the mid Carolina, and also the lower state. So congratulations, and Thursday morning we will have the Lieutenant Governor on. Y'all know she is running to be the next governor of South Carolina. So that is going to do it for me. See you at 5 right here on WCRS Radio. Let's cue the music. Let's show the end of the show. And that's it for me. Have a great day. Da 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 da. Take it away.